10:04, and we will call the meeting to order at the Fire Academy in Pittsburgh, Vermont, noting that we do not have a quorum, so we will not be voting on any issues today unless we subsequently gain a quorum. The one thing of note is that elections are scheduled for today, so we will have to plan on holding those at the next regular meeting. And the approval of minutes appears to be the only other thing on the agenda requiring a vote. So we'll begin with a roll call, and we'll start with the folks in the room. Chief Skaza.
Michael Skaza, Vermont Fire Academy.
SC, Vermont State Firefighters Association.
Respectfully. Bill Jones, Vermont Fire Academy.
John Marcus Chair, representing the general public, and Alex.
Alex Spencer, representing Professional Firefighters of Vermont.
Director DeRosier.
Here, representing public safety.
And Matt.
Matt Miles, insurance.
Thank you much. Any guests here? No, we're all introduced. We will table the approval of the June 10th, 2024 meeting until the next meeting where we have a quorum. We had moved the election. Normally we hold the election at the end of the last meeting of the calendar year. We moved that up to the beginning of the agenda to make sure that, ironically, that we had a quorum before we lost people at the end of the meeting. But we will table that until the next meeting. So we'll go to reports with the Director of the Division of Fire Safety.
All right. Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right. So I'll start out. We have a 21-person USAR team in North Carolina conducting searches in the Broad River area, which is a remote and rugged terrain area that was completely devastated by the flood. The team initially had responded to Florida. They were actually in Tampa, St. Pete Beach area, and the Treasure Island area, and then they were redirected to North Carolina. So they've been doing primary searches. Some of the searches are in response to 911 calls that were made, calls of missing people. And as you can imagine, according to Mike Cannon, it's 100 times worse than what he's ever seen in his entire career in the USAR business. So it's just described as just major destruction. And it's not just a matter of like having homes gone. It is that the land is gone that the homes were on. So even if you wanted to rebuild, there's no land there to even rebuild on. So you're talking like biblical damage, and the death toll is certainly going to rise as they go through these remote areas where they've had no access to. So our hats off to the group. Of course, it's hot down there. There's no power. The reason they can communicate with us is through what we call a Starlink system that public safety has. It's all done through satellite and stuff. So they have about 40, 50 people linked into this this communication system down there. There's also a lot of law enforcement issues going on down there. People wanting to steal water, food, that kind of stuff. So it's a big deal. So hats off to the group that's down there. And hopefully just pray for a safe return home for them. We have completed our first round of interviews for a new deputy director. Robert Sponable has been our deputy director maybe about 7 to 10 years. He's retiring effective December 1st. So we are anxious to get this position filled. So there'll be an announcement coming out in the next week or so. Next week I will be in Maryland at the National Fire Academy attending the 2024 Presidential Summit, which is where they bring fire service leaders from across the country together. With the U.S. Fire Administrator there, Dr. Lori, she runs the show down there. It'll be a one-day symposium, and they'll talk about the challenges facing the fire service, everything from health and wellness to retention, recruitment, codes and standards, a whole array of things. Wildland fire is a major topic of discussion down there. So the presidents of the major sister organizations, including members of the Congressional Fire Service Institute, will be in attendance as well. Immediately following that, I'll be driving from there to Washington, D.C. to attend the National Advisory Committee meeting, it's a committee again of national fire leaders across the country. And that is sponsored by the Congressional Fire Service Institute. So that's where I'll be next week. Legislatively, I'll let Mike talk about things that he's involved with on the cancer front. Fire safety is very involved with discussions around energy efficiency. And there's a large contingency of folks that would like to see fire safety implement and manage a comprehensive energy efficiency enforcement program, which would include certification and training of contractors, inspections for energy efficiency compliance. They want us promulgating the energy efficiency rules, and the list goes on and on. So I have kind of been opposing that strategy of building government and creating bureaucracy when we should be concentrating on training and educating our contractors so that they understand what the standards are and they can build to those standards. So a lot of stuff going on in that arena. We ordered 2 new state-of-the-art public fire safety education trailers. The 2 we currently have, one of them is we can't get inspected. The other one's in terrible shape. A lot of water leakage, and anyways, we ordered these 2 new trailers. They're about $100,000 a piece. They will be delivered end of January, beginning of February of 2025. And so we're excited about getting these new state-of-the-art education trailers out to support our education programs for our youth. I testified last week at joint fiscal. They approved our acceptance of, it's about a $60,000 carbon monoxide prevention grant. There's some new technology out there where you have 2 types of poisonings. You have your acute, excuse me, and your chronic, which is low dose over a long period of time. We're going to purchase some what we call some low dose CO alarms and put those in the homes of our most vulnerable population, which will be single family owner occupied homes. We'll be working with WIC and Meals on Wheels and some other partners to install some of these CO alarms. Our hope is that these alarms will go off at a low reading, and it may be indicative that, hey, you got something else going on here that may not set a normal CO alarm off, but it's an unhealthy environment over a long period of time. So we're going to be part of this this program. Also, for those that are involved in emergency response or incident reporting, be aware that INFRS, as you know, it's going away. And in 2025, the new system near us will be up and running. And as president of the National Association of State Fire Marshals, we have expressed major concern over some aspects of this. And I don't have a day here to explain all our concerns. We agreed that infers should be replaced. But the state fire marshals across the country, actually the ones that manage these programs and usually put training out and this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out. But just be aware that that incident reporting system's is gonna be gone. There's a lot of information on the USFA webpage. There's all kinds of webinars. There's tons of videos and information out there where you can read up on it. But we have just emphasized that we want the state fire marshals to be a leader and a voice on this because fire departments can't receive grants without reporting to this system. And, you know, we want to make sure that fire departments are trained and have the technology and the ability to report so they can take advantage, for those that want to take advantage of grants, they can apply. So more to come on that. The occupational safety and health rules that we're going to impose numerous mandates onto the fire service. The latest update on that came out a couple days ago. There's talk about exempting the volunteer fire departments from those rules. And you know, there's good things about these rules, right? Nobody wants to see our firefighters hurt. And there are some good things. I think a lot of the concern expressed dealt with implementation, the cost of the implementation, and things like that. So I don't know what the final deal will be. There'll be some testimony this month, as I understand it, or some public hearings on this, and there'll be a lot of public comments. Thousands of different folks put in comments to the Labor Department on those rules. We still continue to work on adopting the 2021 codes. I have a meeting in 2 weeks to go over what we call the annotated version. That means we have made all the corrections and linked all the right codes and standards to our new rules. And now we'll go through them for accuracy, and then we're gonna bring in all our stakeholder groups for comments and stuff. And so the ball's gonna start to roll heavily on our rulemaking. And then, Chair, if you don't mind, I can probably just roll into the governance committee report because which is on the agenda. There's not, and I chair that governance committee. There's not much to report on that. There's Heather Simon was a vice chair. She resigned. She was the executive director of the Vermont Criminal Justice Council, or I don't know if that's the right terminology now, if that's what they call them now, but so we're trying to work on some capital construction proposals that would enhance some of the things down there at the facility, including there's a long list of stuff connecting the water and sewer to the town of Pittsford, so we can do additions and stuff to buildings and so forth, because the permitting that we're under right now, we cannot add to the wastewater system on the campus. We continue to mitigate our PFAS levels down there. That's still an active, ongoing project. It's been ongoing for 4 or 5 years. And so that's status quo right now with the PFAS down there at the academy. So that's a quick rundown. Our budget, we're working on our FY26 budget and a bunch of other public safety type stuff.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the director? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Vermont Fire Academy Chief of Training.
Thank you. I'll start out with staffing as I always do, because that's kind of a low point to bring up, and then things will just get better from there. So, unfortunately, our training coordinator position was vacated on August 10th. So we have reposted that position, and we're actively advertising to fill that. Our site coordinator position, also a full-time position, remains vacant. We've been without that position being filled for quite some time now, and that's definitely both of those are definitely impacting our operations, and we feel the need for those positions every day here. So again, active recruiting for both of those. We're really not seeing a huge influx of applicants, and applicants that we are seeing are not well qualified for the positions. So we will continue casting a wide net to see what we can catch there. I need to thank our staff. Everybody has taken on added responsibilities to cover these positions, and they've all stepped up to the plate and continue to make sure that we do a good job meeting the training needs. Even though we've had to choke back a bit because of our staffing situation, I'll share some statistics at the end of the report that is going to kind of be a testament to the good work that they are doing, and I thank them for that, because they're really allowing us to continue moving forward. We separated with 5 instructors off of our part-time staff in the last month or so. These were instructors who were very, very inactive and hadn't taken an instructional assignment in several years, and had not met the minimum obligation of their job classifications. So while it's a decrease in numbers in our instructor force, it's not an impactful reduction in the ability to do work. On the positive side, this is where things start to pick up. We've hired 2 new instructors. We've hired Ben Shaw, who is a career firefighter with Burlington. And we have rehired Chris Sullivan, who is a captain with Burlington. And Chris was a specialist instructor with us many years ago in technical rescue. And he come back to us and said, hey, I've got some time and I've got some interest and I'd like to contribute back. And he lives in Addison County. So we have effectively doubled our instructor force in Addison County. So we welcome those folks, and our coordinators are working with Ben and Chris to get them stood up as quickly as possible. And we're sure they're going to do good work with us. On the budget front, the FY25 budget is healthy, and we had some carry forward funds from FY25 due to vacancy savings and some other things, which are allowing us to continue launching some special projects that we might not otherwise be able to do. We've also tried to fill the gap in our personnel and staffing shortages with some contract work. So bringing in some outsiders to perform some training functions for us, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the budget is in very good shape, unfortunately for bad reasons, which are those vacancies. So the director alluded to a busy legislative session. Last session was very busy. I think we expect next session to be equally as busy. The big piece for the Fire Academy is that H55 passed at the end of the session. That was actually amended a couple of times and approved during the veto session. So a very last minute effort, and it has now become Act 184. So it's now a law, and it's an act relating to miscellaneous unemployment insurance amendments, but tucked within the unemployment insurance information are firefighter cancer provisions. And the first is a directive to the director of the Division of Fire Safety to conduct semi-annual surveys of the fire service to collect data on firefighter demographics and things really deep, take a deep dive into Vermont firefighters to look at their demographic information, their earnings information, their service information, and give us the data that we will then hand to the Department of Financial Regulation to project future costs of firefighter cancer with respect to changing presumptive benefits and things like that. So in the past, the thing has always been, well, we don't know what any of this is going to cost. So we've been charged with gathering the information, giving that to the Department of Financial Regulation. In the year that, so we will collect data every other year from the fire service. And then in the off year, DFR will be taking that data and spinning it through their processes to generate a report on potential costs for changes that are going to be made to the presumptive benefits and other things. So that's a step in the right direction, because we've always provided testimony but lacked Vermont specific data, which the legislators are very interested in. This is going to produce that, hopefully in a very, I think we're going to learn a lot. Next, the Act directs the Division of Fire Safety to subsidize the cost of firefighter cancer screenings for Vermont firefighters and all enrollees in Vermont Fire Academy Firefighter 1 programs. So what that does is it gets us, for the first time, it gets us funding for cancer screening. And it also allows all of those newly onboarded firefighters who are joining Firefighter 1 to get their cancer screenings done, so that they early in their career meet the requirements for the cancer presumptive benefits by meeting the screening requirements. So we'll make sure that those folks don't slip through the cracks anymore. Mr. Chair, just as a point of order, Deputy Commissioner Batesy has joined us, so we're now one short on a quorum.
Thank you for noting that.
So that's really good. But when the law passed, there was no funding attached to it. So the funding was contingent upon how the FY24 budget ended. We were really low in a long line of projects that were to be funded with contingency funding left over from FY24, and the project was funded at $1 million. So there's $1 million allocated in this fiscal year to support those screenings. How we're going to proceed is we'll be calling our firefighter cancer working group back together. This is the same group that provided the report to the legislature in the last session. Those folks did really good. We have representation in that group from all the major fire service organizations in the state. And they're going to help us to decide, because we know $1 million won't screen every firefighter in the state. They're going to help us decide on criteria that will hopefully prioritize the highest risk firefighters for screening first. And then we'll put that $1 million to good work. We will execute, undoubtedly, we will have to execute contracts with third-party screening vendors to make this happen, but that will be coming, and work has already begun on that. We're gathering information on the screening that was directed in the law. So that's great news. That's a step forward. Grants, things are percolating well. The Fire Academy's been very successful in securing grant funding. We are currently managing nearly $2 million in federal grants across 8 different grant awards, which, when you have 5 people in your full-time staff, is a significant challenge. And I'm thankful that we have support from the Department of Public Safety Grant Management Unit. They really do a great job keeping us straight and keeping our beans counted. So I appreciate their help. Since our last meeting, we're awarded a HMEP, Hazardous Materials Emergency Planning Grant, in the amount of $133,609, which will fund continued hazardous material first responder training through the next federal fiscal year, which started October 1st. We've been awarded an Assistance to Firefighters grant under the FY23 funding program in the amount of $227,545, which will allow us to purchase new ruggedized fire service duty radios for our training programs, particularly in live fire, which has been a big shortcoming. We've previously been limited to business class radios, so this will bring reliability and improve safety to our most dangerous programs, or not dangerous, to our most hazardous programs. we try not to be dangerous. We have funding to purchase for the first time a fire pump simulator. So we will be able to take our pump apparatus driver operator students and put them on a pump simulator that will incredibly replicate all of the functions of an operating fire pump before taking them to a department $600,000 pumper and teaching them, what not to do wrong. They can do anything wrong that they want in this simulator, and it's not going to cost us a dime, except we just hit the reset button. So this is a really big step in bringing technology into our training programs, and I think it's going to be a great addition. We've had the opportunity to demonstrate, to work with some of these simulators at some shows and conferences, and we think it'll be a nice addition. NFPA 1010, which is the new firefighter standard, has finally added significant JPRs to thermal imaging. So we have money included in this grant to add a robust cache of thermal imaging cameras to our inventory and fill that new need and start pushing out training to that. That will also support the development of standalone thermal imaging training programs, which we have not been able to do previously. But this change in the standard gives us that push to do that, and we will. We were awarded a state fire training systems grant for the FY24 program. This is also called the National Fire Academy grant. This awards $20,000, and it will be used to support our pumping apparatus driver operator and fire instructor programs. So some good awards that have come out at the tail end of the federal fiscal year. Courses and programs were percolating along nicely. I just want to, again, give some credit to our staff and also to the council for, first to the staff for providing a real solid assessment of where the need was for our firefighter programs this year and thoughtfully selecting those venues based on those that requested that training. And then to the council for recognizing the appropriateness of the locations of those programs and endorsing it at the last meeting. All of our Firefighter One programs are underway or about to begin. Our last one starts this weekend, and enrollment is fantastic. So that speaks to the appropriate placement of the programs around the state. Our Firefighter 2 programs in our combined, so the Firefighter 2 portion of our combined programs, we will have 2 Firefighter 2 programs within our combined offerings, one in Woodstock and one in Fairfax. Enrollment is already high for the Firefighter 2 portion, so that anyone that signed up to do both Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 gets awarded the seats first, and then we take Firefighter 2 only applicants to fill any remaining seats. And I believe that we're running waiting lists for those Firefighter 2 classes. So that means we're looking at 40 students in those classes. So huge lift when you have a big group like that, because we're so hands-on and we have really tight student to instructor ratios with our hands-on training. But spot on with the program placement this year, and the enrollment numbers reflect that. So and the numbers are good. We have, we're running 30, we have 35 students enrolled in East Montpelier, 23 in Fairfax, 21 in Manchester, 25 in Woodstock. Our hybrid Firefighter 1, which is the program that starts this weekend, has 40 students enrolled with a waiting list. And over the past 2 weeks, we've been able to pick through the waiting list as some folks have seen the schedule and said, oh, something came up in life, I have to withdraw. So we're working through placing people into any open seat as soon as we can off the waiting list. And we'll continue to do that until tomorrow at around midday, right? Then it's go time because we start Saturday. So talking about our Firefighter 1 hybrid program, this is a program that's been designed where our didactic sessions are being delivered virtually through Zoom. And at the last meeting, I spoke about an initiative where we were transitioning our virtual learning platform from Teams to Zoom because we were having many complications with the state licensed Teams platform, because it was very difficult for people to join from outside the Vermont.gov domain. It was incredibly complicated and unreliable for serving our students. We worked with the Agency of Digital Services. This was a project that Jessica undertook, and it was a big project. So Jessica and Jonathan Weiss, who was our lead instructor for this program, worked very closely with the Agency for Digital Services. We won the uphill battle to transition to Zoom. We fought the red tape and we're there. So we will be delivering that through Zoom. We will be using a hybrid instructor team for those virtual deliveries. And what that has done is it's allowed us to identify those instructors who are comfortable with the technology and interested and adept at delivering with that platform. It's given us the opportunity to conduct some additional training sessions with that team to really hone in their skills on presenting virtually and to get comfortable with the platform. And then when we spoke before about providing them with some supplemental technology so that they have the tools that they need, we've done that. The technology is here. We're pushing that out to those instructors so that they will be doing these deliveries with equipment packages that support them. And then finally, the way that this program is being run, and there's been a lot of work to get there, as Chris will attest to, we're applying hands-on instruction methods as much as possible when the students are here and in person. So I think this is going to be a very non-traditional delivery, and we're going to get some good feedback from the students on what they think and how it feels for them, because the in-person instruction is going to be a really nice mix with virtually no time in the classroom when they're together in person. So we look forward to this, and I can't wait to report out on how successful it is. Contracts and RFPs. I spoke before about some contracting that we're doing and some RFPs that we pushed out. We do have a contract in place with Capital Technical Rescue for the delivery of rope operations, ice surface water rescue, and swift water rescue and surface water rescue with boat operations. So a lot of the technical rescue programs that we have a demand for that we have struggled with staffing on, we're filling that gap by utilizing a contractor. They've been excellent to work with. Surface water rescue with boat operations, kind of a little success story here. In response to all of the flooding that we've been experiencing throughout Vermont, we saw a need, and we heard a need to stand up local resources to respond to flooding events, to give the local emergency forces the tools that they needed to effect evacuations, to intervene and get people out of trouble prior to the arrival or when there wasn't the availability of a technical level rescue team like the USAR team. So we brought in this contractor to deliver the surface water rescue with boat operations. We've delivered 4 courses around the state, put 71 students through the training so far in various locations. It's very hands-on. It's a 2-day program. They're getting a lot out of it. Student reviews are fantastic. And we will continue with this offering as soon as the weather allows us to restart them in the spring, summer, and fall of 2025. Just to continue standing up those local resources to deal with the problem that we're seeing in the weather department. We have a contract in place with a company called Strategic Code Solutions, and they are delivering our fire inspector programs. We have a 2-year contract, so we will continue utilizing them in that capacity. Our fire inspector 1 and 2 programs, combined program, is underway with 21 students. They're in the practicum phase of their certification testing, so they're on the tail end of the program. All their training is complete. They're literally out doing their field work right now to gain their certification. They have a completion deadline of December 15th. And I don't know if I said that, 21 students. So a good sized class, and we got really great reviews on that. Fire Inspector 2 underway as well. They've got 18 students in that class. They too are in their practicum phase of their certification testing. So they've completed their training, they've completed their written exam. The results from the written exam were phenomenal. So we have a good measure of success with the contractor. And they too are expected to complete by December 15th. Following that completion on December 15th, we'll focus our work on transitioning to the new edition of the fire inspector professional qualifications, which will bring us into the 2024 edition of that standard. In that addition, there is no longer a split of level 1 and level 2. There's just a fire inspector level. So we'll transition to that. We'll be the contractor will be doing the work to bring online an updated curriculum package, which will be we'll have to transition to IFSTA because Jones and Bartlett did not develop a curriculum package that is compliant with this standard. So there's kind of one game in town at this point. So once that work is done, we will in February be seeking council approval to move to that level. And with the council's approval, I can't imagine that they'd say no. We will move towards accreditation at that level. So we'll come back in February with a full package for you to approve. So we'll put in something on the agenda item already. We are in the process of executing contracts for outside contractor delivered focused training in instructor development and some targeted strategies and tactics in a seminar type of environment. So we are planning, I can't speak widely about this yet because we're still in the process of executing contracts, but you can look forward to a large conference type venue with a outside nationally recognized speaker talking about strategies and tactics appropriate to Vermont. And also an instructor development day in the same format where we'll be bringing in an outside, regional, if not national level speaker. And we're literally just waiting for the ink to hit the paper so we can announce those. So that's coming soon. Vehicle rescue technician just finished in a hybrid offering. Well, didn't just finish. It finished in June, right after our last meeting. We had 17 students complete that training, and we're still getting really good reviews about that. Very hands-on course. Bill can help me, but I think we're cutting like 20 to 25 vehicles in the process of this course. So if you take a look around campus, you might think that maybe we're operating some type of a salvage yard, when in fact, yeah, that's what it is. Regional fire schools have all completed around the state for the year. Enrollment numbers are rebounding, but they still have not returned to pre-COVID numbers. And the regional fire school committees are kind of struggling with, what changes do they need to make to boost enrollment and get it back to where it was pre-COVID. Unfortunately, we saw quite a few cancellations of fire academy courses in the regional fire schools. And I don't think it's anything unique to fire academy offerings because the fire schools canceled a fair number of their own offerings as well in each of these. It's purely related to the low enrollment that they're experiencing. So we were able to deliver emergency vehicle driver training at Northeast Regional Fire School and modern fire behavior flashover recognition at North Country Regional Fire School this year. But we had our courses canceled in Addison, Twin State, and Franklin the Moyle. We will be organizing a meeting of our regional fire school committees. Twice a year, we bring those committees together and just have a really good conversation about what worked, what didn't work for each of them. They can network, bounce ideas off of each other. We can kind of work together to try to form some potential improvements for the next year. So we'll be looking to schedule those meetings in the next month or two. It's okay, nobody noticed. In the we all reached, right? We're all good. National Fire Academy course offerings. We've got 6 2-day deliveries scheduled between now and March. Some really good selections. Youth Firefighter Intervention Specialist will be at the Fire Academy October 19th and 20th. Incident Safety Officer will be in St. Johnsbury on January 18th and 19th. Leadership Framework for Success will be in Brandon on January 25 and 26. ICS Resource Management for the Fire Service will be in Londonderry on February 8th and 9th. Strategy and Tactics for Initial Company Operations will be in Alburg on February 22 and 23. And Shaping the Future will be in Thetford on March 8th and 9th. So some really good offerings there. Those are all announced and advertised on our website, as well as in our mass emails. And we'll continue pushing those around social media and try to get that enrollment up in those classes. They were very successful last year. We held a lot of really good training, served a lot of students, and brought some good National Fire Academy programs into the state. Command and control of fire department operations at target hazards, which is a 6-day class. That is going to be February 23 through 28. This was scheduled to happen earlier. I think it was scheduled for October initially, right? The National Fire Academy canceled it because they couldn't secure an instructor. We had enough students to run the class. We were able to work with the National Fire Academy to negotiate and instead of cancel, postpone that. So our understanding is they'll be able to secure an instructor for these dates in February. New executive fire chief, new executive chief officer, another 6-day class that Jessica was able to secure through our Region 1 trade group. Very competitive to get these. That'll be held at the Vermont Fire Academy on March 10th through the 15th. So we're hoping to draw a good crowd of officers or up and coming potential officers in that class. 3-state weekend will be in Emmitsburg on campus at the National Fire Academy on June 7th and 8th of 25. So that's been secured, and we will be working with the other 2 states to identify the course offerings. Curriculum projects. I got to tell you, it's been really hard for us to take on any curriculum projects given the current workload and the staffing. However, Chris has been working on the development of Instructor 2 and 3. We are committed to adding those levels, Instructor 2 and Instructor 3, to our course offerings. It's just a really slow go with where we're at with our staffing levels and our workload, but that is still being worked on in every minute of spare time that we can find. Preliminary assessments begun of NFPA 1010 2024 edition, which is the new Firefighter 1 standard. So formerly known as NFPA 1001, it's been consolidated as part of the consolidation project into NFPA 1010. So the standard's been released. We've started digesting the changes in 1010. IFSTA just a few weeks ago released their 8th edition Essentials Manual. So we have that in-house, and the review of that is starting so that we can formulate a work plan to tackle this very, very large project. Firefighter 1 and 2 is probably the largest project that we take on in the curriculum department when we transition from one edition of the standard to another. So a plan is being put together to implement that. We technically have 3 years to bring this online, but our goal is to accelerate that a bit so that we're not pushing the deadline. East Cottage continues to be serving us extremely well with lodging. The dorm is working out very well. To date, we've had over 1,400 overnight stays, and we continue to offer that as much as we can. As the director alluded to, the Fire Academy is also watching the OSHA standard 1910-156 emergency response rule. We know that over 4,000 public comments were received. We know that the informal public hearing is going to begin on November 12th. In some of the national organization meetings that I'm involved in, we expect that to span over many days. As the director said, OSHA recently issued a statement acknowledging that there is an unforeseen impact on the volunteer fire service that they're trying to work through and potentially considering exemptions. Don't be fooled by that. I wish our OSHA rep was here to explain more, but Vermont, it's very likely that Vermont may not have any true volunteer fire departments because Vermont law requires all fire departments to provide workers' compensation coverage to their members, establishing an employer-employee relationship, which undoubtedly will probably, I say undoubtedly, but I'll change that to probably will require compliance with the OSHA standards. So we'll wait to see what our friends from OSHA have to weigh in on that. And I was hoping that they'd be able to give us some insight on that today. But so we'll continue to stay tuned. We'll continue to share information. Like the director said, not everything in this standard is bad. You know, the concern is the implementation. It's a lot to take on in a very short amount of time, and that's going to be a struggle. So we support improving the safety of firefighters. We just need to make sure that things are done with a thoughtful implementation process that is achievable. Promised a few statistics. Here's a few things to share. In fiscal year 24, which closed on June 30th, we operated with a 29% reduction in full-time staff, which is a big hit. In that, in FY24, when compared to FY23, we were able to increase our student contacts by 103%, which is a tremendous lift. So we engaged with 2,661 students in FY24 and 1,310 students in FY23. A big reason for that increase in student contact was pushing out some new programs that people really latched onto. Our lithium-ion battery fire awareness course pulled people out of the woodwork. Our NFA programs, we really pushed those hard and got enrollment up. We saw really good enrollment in our firefighter one. So things are looking strong. We're having more student contact despite our reduction in force. One of our measures is of our success, but also of recruitment in the fire service is how is our newly certified fire personnel trending at the firefighter one or firefighter 1 and 2 level. And we saw a 5% increase in the number of firefighter certifications that we issued in FY24. So that's kind of promising. Any upward tick that we can have there seems to indicate that we're recruiting some new people in. However, what we lack is the ability to measure how quickly we're losing people. So, and that's my report, unless anyone has some questions.
A lot of work with the not full.
We've been
staff.
busy. And you know, our part-time staff, since he's here, people like Tom have been helping us out tremendously. You know, we've got some really dedicated part-time staff that have really stepped up, taken on some special projects. At one point, I thought that Tom was a full-time employee because he was here so much over a couple of weeks, just helping out with anything that needed to be done, whether it's moving equipment, you know, working on projects out on the site to make sure that the training grounds were ready for the next class coming in. We've got a few part-timers that work regularly out in our fire station doing prep work and equipment maintenance. And all of our lead instructors are doing really good work out there, making sure that their programs are running the way that they should be, which allows the full-time staff to focus their efforts in other areas because they're all doing it. They're doing really well. So thanks to everybody that's been pitching in and helping to get us through this, and people like Tom, who's really been dedicated to us. We appreciate you. So it looks like Alex has his hand up.
Morning, Mr. Skaza. Just one quick question, and I know this may have been brought up before. Is there any option, funding, logistical availability to maybe add a stove or some type of additional cooking apparatus for East Cottage, since we still have so many, you know, overnight stays? I've stayed in East Cottage many times, very nice facility, but I can speak that it can be sometimes challenging, specifically for, you know, people staying for the NFA courses to, you know, feed themselves. And I don't want it to be a detractor for a potential student or participant in the course, you know, to have to continuously go into town to find dinner or something like that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's something that we've recognized. There aren't a whole lot of options when you show up at the fire academy at 8 o'clock at night to run down into town and find something to eat. And you know, our our greatest use is on the weekends. We do have access to the dining hall during the week if the dining hall is open. That comes at an expense, but we had a recruit class down recently. I'm not sure if you were a part of it or not, but they used the dining hall for all of their meals, and it worked out really well. In the design phase with the East Cottage, we did have a conversation with Buildings and General Services about cooking facilities, and they really shied away from that, from having cooking facilities in a dormitory for safety reasons. And I couldn't, I don't know if it helped us or hindered us when we mentioned that the place would be full of firefighters, but we weren't able to do that. So what we have done, Alex, is we have procured, we've obtained a grill so that there's an opportunity to do some outdoor grilling. So that is available, and we'll continue to chase down how we can make that a little bit better.
And maybe we could talk further offline about that, but thank you.
Happy to. Good point too. We recognize that as well.
Thanks.
I'll just point out that there is a residential fire suppression system. So,
We'll put that in the toolbox.
any other comments or questions for the chief of training? Awesome. Very good work. In terms of my report, we have a new representative from labor. Is that
Yeah, so
correct?
my understanding is that Dan Whipple, the director of OSHA, has retired or is about to retire. So he has resigned his position. Commissioner Harrington has appointed Carl Hayden as his interim representative to the council. And Carl is I believe he's the director of compliance from OSHA. And that is just pending the appointment of a new director. It sounds like the commissioner's intent is to have the director of OSHA retain that seat going forward on his behalf. So hope to know more probably by the next meeting.
Is that it? Any other changes?
No other changes that I'm aware of.
Excellent. And thanks, Director DeRoche gave the governance committee report already, so that is done. Unfinished business. I don't believe we have anything on the agenda for unfinished business. Likewise for new business. Anybody want to bring up any new business for the council? Super. What I would like to do, I am no longer a member of the active fire service, but I do remember from my days that people on duty have calls. So I'd like to jump to Lieutenant Spencer for the professional firefighter of Vermont report, just in case the bells hit and he has to run out the door. So Alex, if you want to give us your report.
Thank you, Chairman Marcus. I do not have much of a report to pass along. Not much has changed on the front since the last meeting or several meetings ago, but it's probably similar concerns crew chiefs have expressed at the last meeting, having a challenging time, recruiting applicants to the career fire departments. Not necessarily we're finding it to be a issue with finding applicants with certification. It's just the applicant pool in general has diminished. I know the Burlington Fire Department, I think just yesterday or the day before, posted recruiting lateral hires, similar to what New Hampshire commonly does. With that being said, I'm not going to speak for my department, but departments around the state may be creative in finding laterals. With hiring laterals, often comes the challenge of reciprocity. I know we've talked quite a bit about reciprocity issues, and the rule change was very helpful, but we are still running into issues in which hires are coming from career departments in other states, and they're unable to obtain reciprocity due to their previous department not maintaining adequate records of training. I've, spoken with union presidents and training officers from a couple other career departments about that, and kind of echoed their, not to automatically play devil's advocate, but emphasize the importance of proper training documentation going down the road. So not much else other to report. I know that it seems to me that um, departments in the past couple of years, at least my department and the Burlington Fire Department, and I think even Williston, have been utilizing the fire academy grounds in the East Cottage for recruit classes. I think that's a great step forward. Um, and I've found I'm very grateful to have that opportunity to now stay down there, even when I'm working in a recruit class for my department. So kudos to moving forward on that. So that's all I have to report.
Alex, if I can take just a second.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that we identified here at the Fire Academy that one of the things we could do to help with onboarding new hires was to offer a second challenge opportunity, which we're in the middle of right now. So that's in addition to the challenge opportunity that we offer in June. That is an additional challenge exam opportunity that is fully state funded and that we are running without a minimum candidate number, just to try to help onboard these people a little more quickly when they're coming in as new hires, and either they have the requisite training under their belts or they recently completed some type of a recruit academy at their employing agency. So it is our intent to that it is not our intent to reduce those opportunities. So we will continue to offer that spring opportunity. We've added the fall opportunity to try to see if that helps. And I think we had seven.
Six.
We had
Yeah,
six,
we had six on Tuesday.
we had 6 candidates for firefighter 1 last Tuesday.
Yes,
And,
thank you.
Next week we'll be doing the firefighter 1 portion of that exam for those that are qualified for that. So, I'm sorry, firefighter 2 next week.
Yeah, we sent one down. Very appreciative to do that. The timing worked out quite well actually for him to be able to challenge because he needed it. So
I got to tell you, we're seeing really good results with the candidates that are coming out of these department-run in-house recruit academies. They're coming to the testing events and they're doing really, really well. They're very well prepared. So just a hats off to what your department and other departments and all the members of the PFFB they're doing the hard work and making sure that these people are really prepared, and it shows in their testing. So
thank you.
Great. So we'll go back to the top of the organization and agency reports, and you'll have to help me to we actually have 4 representatives here.
Coalition, the director.
Director DeRocher, do you want to speak to the Coalition of Fire and Rescue?
He might have had to take a phone call,
Yeah.
so we could come back to him. Career Chiefs is absent. Tom is representing the SFA.
So my report is short. We had the convention this year. It went very well in Middlebury. We're hoping to improve it or gain and attendance next year. I think tentatively it is scheduled for St. Albans area. So we have that. And for the Cadet Academy, do you remember how many completed that?
I think we had 28.
Yeah.
28.
28 that went through the Cadet Academy. Brent Larrabee is no longer stepped down, and Micah Gunslinger is going to be the new chief of the academy. And there are some new people that are going to be assisting this year with it, so it looks like we'll have a good program. That is pretty much all I have.
Do you track how many people go through the cadet program and actually end up joining?
I don't think we have done that, John.
Interesting.
But
So-
I know of,
Good question. So one of the performance measures of the grant that they're operating under now seeks to do that, is to see if there's a way to maintain contact with the cadets and count the number that continue with the department or get on the department in the future. Problem is, it's really hard to figure out where these cadets end up
Yeah.
sometimes. You know, they go in different directions, they go to college, they go to, and it's hard, but
we,
Talking about recruitment, 28 is a lot of bodies that potentially.
we've had in person in our department, 2 that have gone through it. One did not stay in the service. The other one is now a career firefighter in Saco, Maine. Yep.
It's a very good. There's one that works for help. Gentlemen.
Tom.
Yeah.
Hey, kudos to the Cadet Academy. You may or may not know this, but myself, another member of my department, Eric Bolhars, senior firefighter, and lieutenant in Burlington, Andrew Petrowski, were all graduates of the 2003 VSFA Cadet Academy. And a tribute, I still did 21 years later, still remember it like it was yesterday, and kind of attribute some of our desire to work in the Vermont Fire Service, and also give back, you know, in training, whether it's volunteer or career firefighters, to that program. So thank you.
That's great.
I think he just signed up.
I you know, I actually, couple years ago, I think Seth Perry was looking for me to help. Timing, I was willing to, timing wasn't working out for some reason, but I'm pretty tight with Micah, so I'll be following up with him to see if he needs anything.
Or not answer your phone if he's calling.
That is true. He had to deal with me the other night, so.
All right, thank you, Tom. Do we have anyone from the Vermont Fire Chiefs Association?
We don't.
Alex, we did. ANR, we do not.
Nope.
Education, we do not.
Nope.
Health, we do not. Labor, we do not. And Matt, insurance.
Nothing to report. Sounds like you guys have a bunch of good stuff going, so good on all you guys involved in all the hard work behind the scenes and on the front lines.
Awesome. Director DeRoche, are you back on? So we will skip the coalition.
Here
Yes.
it comes.
Oh, there it is. Okay, coalition. Do you have a report for the Coalition of Fire and Rescue?
Actually, I don't. I know we have a meeting coming up. In the last coalition meeting, I think I was traveling and was not in attendance.
All right. General public, no comments, no other general public here besides me, and I have no comment. Any other business? Commissioner Batesy, do you have anything for us?
No, I just
Or any
wanted
other
to
business?
congratulate everybody. This has been a busy year for the Fire Academy. I know they've been doing it with a short staff, and I really appreciate their efforts.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Any other business? All right, so the next meeting, we need to hold our elections. We'll have 2 meetings worth of minutes to approve. And it sounds like the chief of training will have some other things for us to approve. So Are we prepared to set a meeting date?
We have it tentatively for the second Thursday of the month, which would be the 13th of February. Let me just double check against.
We can always get them around. Valentine's.
That's true. February 13th is a Thursday. That's good, it's clear.
Let's try.
Do we have 10 a.m. Thursday, February 13th, and do we have a location?
We would, we'll seek a location in the north.
Yep.
With your approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good. Can we entertain a motion to adjourn without a quorum or advance session?
Till February.
We can just leave.
Yeah. I think having no further business and not being able to actually vote on anything, we can just go ahead and adjourn. I thank you all for your attendance and be safe, be well, and thanks again for attending.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Good
All right.
seeing you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Here.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Bye.